Karen Reed led into court in handcuffs. She pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe.
And how do you wish to plead to those indictments?
Nothing. Reed's defense lawyer sharing these pictures of the couple during happier times. Prosecutors believe Reed hit him with her SUV outside the home of a Canton police officer after a night of drinking. It happened during a January snowstorm.
In the same area where the body had been recovered, 2 red plastic pieces of a taillight were located, consistent to the pieces missing from the defendant's black Lexus.
Tears in court as the prosecutor described the medical examiner's findings, including 2 black eyes, skull fractures, and hypothermia.
She opined from her examination that the significant blunt force trauma injuries occurred prior to Mr. O'Keefe's becoming hypothermic.
Reed's lawyer flagging what he says are ethics problems. He says the investigating trooper is friends with the Canton officer who owns the home where O'Keefe was found.
We have uncovered that the lead detective is very close with the owners of that property. And he was supposedly assigned to the case to avoid the appearance of impropriety.
He also made the claim that evidence may have been doctored, though he did not elaborate.
We have photographic evidence that my client's vehicle, before it was taken by the police, was in different condition than when the police actually evaluated it.
Said it feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything. Folks, this is what it looks like when you bring false charges against an innocent person. The Commonwealth did their worst. They brought the weight of the state based on spurious charges, based on compromised investigation and investigators and compromised witnesses. This is what it looks like. And guess what? They failed. They failed miserably, and they'll continue to fail. No matter how long it takes, no matter how long they keep trying, we will not stop fighting. We have no quit. Go ahead.
I just have 2 things to say, folks. Number 1, I am in awe of the strength and courage of this remarkable client that I've had the privilege of representing since day 1. And number 2, I want to send a message to all of her supporters out there. Your support was invaluable. We are touched, and we ask for your continued support. I'm not from Texas like my colleague here. I'm a Boston kid. But I'll repeat what he said, which is, we ain't got no quit.
Number 1 is I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team financially and, more importantly, emotionally for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have. And my team. Thank you.
Amen. Welcome back in, everybody, to the LTL Media channel. It is Thursday, Thirsty Thursday for a lot of you out there. And, we've been banging away at a lot of content here. I've been saying this on my shows the last couple of nights. The Karen Reed case it just keeps giving. It never stops. It keeps giving. And, we've gotten through all the criminal proceedings in Karen's case. Her being on 2 trials, accused of murder. She's been acquitted, but now getting into a lot of this, the civil cases, which I think are going to take a long time. everybody's just fucking suing everybody. Everybody's just suing everybody right now. And it's going to be interesting to watch. And obviously, you know, we're going to keep up on it here and report to all of you guys. But it's nice to see everybody here. Nice to see a lot of people in here. And that's always a good thing. I am the thorn in your side. I'm just never going to go away. I'm just never going to go away. I'm always going to be here. I love doing this. I love seeing my audience. I love seeing my moderators, my subscribers. And I love being able to get on here. And this is like my therapy. You know, this is like my therapy every night, to come in here and hang out with all of you and, you know, give my point of view and perspective on things that are going on in and around my community and maybe your community as well, too. Not only the Karen Reed case, but a very important case here in the state of Massachusetts that's going on is the Enrique Delgado Garcia case. And also just in a neighboring state, another case that I've been covering is the Chiron Lopes case. So, you know, again, we have a lot of content. Enrique Delgado Garcia, there'll be some updates on Wednesday, I believe. What day is the 6th? The 6th is, I'm sorry, the 8th. On the 8th, Casey Lamont is going to be the final trooper that's going to be charged in Worcester. He will face charges of involuntary manslaughter, and I will be there on that day in court to report back for all of you. But let's talk about Canton. And this evening I want to get into, I saw this video drop the other day. I think somewhere on Twitter, someone posted it up, and it's been on the Canton Community Cable Access channel as well, too. And I want to go back and I want to talk about Police Chief Michael Daniels. And obviously he was sworn in February, I think around the 17th, 18th, I'm sorry, February 18th. And I'm just going to read this post for you guys. The town of Canton formally welcomes in its new chief of police, Michael K. Daniels. Chief Daniels was sworn in on February 17th, select board meeting before the board community members and before the board and the community members and his family. In the acceptance speech, Chief Daniels emphasized the importance of collaboration moving forward. I hope so. And he's going to, you know, and I got to say here, he's going to face some tough questions. I like that. Didn't softball this interview, which is good. And we're going to get to see his reaction on here. But going back to this, he says, quote, "We can't move forward unless we have your help," he said. "Today is not about me. It's about, or the Canton PD. It's all about us working together." He concluded with a promise to serve the community. And I promise I won't let you down. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm just going to play his little speech here, and then I'll get to the chats. I see you guys got a couple super chats up there. I'll pull those up here in a second, but let me get some sound here. Here we go. Chief Daniels.
Do you affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as police chief of the town of Canton, according to the best of your abilities and understanding, and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
I do.
Congratulations. You are
Albert.
So I just want to thank everybody for obviously being here, my family for their support. I obviously couldn't be here without you. I also want to thank the members of the community for accepting me. Just last week, I attended at the Galvin Middle School with Officer Katard and Officer Mulaney, Black History. So I went, I had a great time, and I met with the superintendent. I've met with a number of people prior to my start date tomorrow. And I feel already very much part of the community. And I promise I won't let you down. I also want, and I'm going to be very clear about this. The officers in the back, I've received so many phone calls from members of the Canton Police Department. They are ready for change. I want everybody to understand that. I have their support. I've had a great conversation with all of them, well, most of them, when I went and I spent some time down there, and they're ready. So, but I also want the community to know that we can't move forward unless we have your help. So this is a collaboration, and it's not, today is not about me, it's not about the community of Canton, and it's not about the Canton PD. It's about all of us collectively moving forward. So I promise I won't let you down. I'm always available. I'm a very visible person, so you will see that over my tenure here. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right. And that's the speech that we got as he was accepted and sworn in, and his job started the next day on the 18th. He was sworn in on February 17th, 2026, and his job started on the 18th. I want to put a poll up really quick. Hang on. Let's see. How confident are you feeling about? I'm going to ask the crowd. Let's ask the subscribers. Oh. Let's see. All right, let's see. Are you confident? All right. Are you confident about Chief Daniels turning things around in Canton? Let's see. I'm just going to do a simple yes, no, and see how you guys feel. All right, let me start that poll. All right, so I got a poll up there. Thank you. Let's get to a couple super chats. Came in right away. Rose, big $50 super chat. They don't like these. They don't like these big super chats that come in. $50 super chat to kick off the show. She said, "Thank you for continuing to provide us with the truth. Thank you so much for being here and your contribution to the channel. I really do appreciate it." Sophie says, "Happy to be here. I'm happy to see you here, Sophie. Longtime member, moderator, and friend of the channel. So thank you for being here, and congratulations on you working your way through school and putting all the right steps in your life early in life to become a true litigator. I know that as a passion of yours, and you want to do that. So keep going after your dreams, because things can happen. You just got to put in the hard work, but it will happen. All right, let's get up to Chief Daniels on Canton Community TV the other day, and Andrea Galvin coming out with the tough questions, which I like. We'll have to get to see here and see what your thoughts on all of this is. And let's sit back. Movie night here on LTL. Here we go. Some volume here. Just wait till this music.
Hello, I'm Andrea Galvin with Canton Community Television, and joining me is the new police chief, Chief Michael Daniels. Thank you for being on Canton Community Television.
Thank you, Andrea.
And welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
First, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Chief, and your background?
Yeah, so before I came to Canton, I started, I guess, my origin story in Brooklyn, New York. I lived there until I was about 8. And my parents at the time, where we lived, there was a lot of crime. And obviously, as parents, you want your children to be brought up in a safe community. So we ended up moving up to Westboro, Massachusetts to stay with my cousin. And we were there for a little while. Then we moved to Upton, spent very little time there. And then we moved to Clinton, Massachusetts, which is a smaller community. I was there till I was probably in the 8th grade. And then from there, I moved back to Westboro, went to Westboro schools. I graduated in 95. And obviously, all my entire life, I've always wanted to be a police officer, and specifically a police chief. Yeah. So very early on, I knew that was going to be my path. When I graduated high school, I went on to college. And while I was attending college, I was able to work as a dispatcher with Westboro. So worked there for about 3 years, saved up enough money to send myself to the full-time police academy. At the time,
So that's interesting. You were a dispatcher in Westboro while you were in college.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of experience knowing what the calls that were coming in that area.
Yeah. No, it was good. It kind of helped build my foundation.
Yes.
But while I was attending school, I would work the overnight shift, so midnight to 8, and then after that, I drive into school. And that's pretty much how I did things for a while until I was able to save up enough to sponsor myself through the academy. And at the time, Westboro wasn't civil service. So I went to the academy with.
So I'm going to look at I just want to look at this poll real quick. And my thumbnail tonight is that the same old story. Are we going to get the same old story here in Canton? So right away, 3 minutes, 38 votes. Please vote in the chat. 148 people in here right now. Let's see your votes. Are you confident that Chief Daniels would turn things around in Canton? 32% of you say yes. 68% say no. Okay. We'll see. We'll keep gauging the
6 months. When I got out, I got hired immediately by Bentley University as a campus police officer in Waltham.
Oh, yeah.
So I was there for a short time. Then I moved on to Bolton Police Department. I was there for a short time, and I moved and went back to Westboro, where I spent the majority of my career. So I went through pretty much every rank from dispatch all the way up. I didn't make deputy chief. My tenure there, I ended up being the administrative lieutenant.
In Bolton?
No, in Westboro.
Oh, in Westboro.
Yeah. So I spent probably about close to 26 years, 23 years, I think, there. Was in charge of accreditation, policies and procedures, was a public information officer, records access officer. And I think at that time, I owe a lot to Westboro because it really put me in a position where I felt confident enough to become a chief. And then I saw a job opening with Oxford. I went over to Oxford. We did some good things there. And then, obviously I was, this opportunity came up not once, but twice. And I moved toward it. So that's how I got here in front of you.
Let's talk about the communities of Westboro and Oxboro.
Oxford.
No, Oxford. Are they similar to Canton or not really?
No, Westboro is very similar. They're almost identical.
Oh, okay.
The demographic, I would say that Canton's probably more.
Do we feel he's going to pull the wool over our eyes? Is that how we're feeling here? Do you think he was honest in his interview? The night they did the interviews at the select board meeting, are you feeling it's just going to be the same old, same old? Let me know. Is he pulling the wool over our eyes? How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? All right, here we go.
Diverse, as it's obviously closer to Boston. Call volume's relatively the same. The department makeup, the police department in particular, is very similar. They're both very, very similar, Canton and Westboro. Oxford's more, it's a smaller community, probably half the size of Canton, but also a very busy community because of where they're located in Central Mass. They were just north of the Connecticut border. And we had Worcester very close by, and many major routes going through. So we had a lot of transient.
Dennis Sweeney in the chat. Dennis, how are you?
Through the town.
Dennis Sweeney. I mean, I got to ask Dennis. Dennis, how are you feeling so far? 2 months in, you're in the heartbeat of the community there. What's the community saying so far? Have you seen Chief Daniels around town? How are you feeling? Let me know. Let us know in the chat. You live there. So what do you think? You just think this guy's going to get it turned around or just more lip service? Everybody say hi to Dennis Sweeney. Yeah. Let us know. Let us know in the chat. All right, here we go.
But it was definitely good.
Excellent. Why come to Canton? Why did you want a job here?
So I get that a lot still to this day. So not many people would understand this, but I've always said, anybody that's asked me, I've always told people that I'm a person that's driven by purpose. I've had going through my life, I always go back to my dad because my dad has always, we had a kind of a rocky relationship growing up, but as I got older, I could see, portions of myself in him. And one of the things that I always tell people is that he was always very giving. He was someone who deeply religious, highly disciplined, very, very strict. Okay. He brought us up in a very strict household. and he was a carpenter. So one of the things that he would always.
So wait, what does that look like growing up? Strict curfews and not being able to leave? What do you mean by that?
All right. So my dad.
I got to be honest. I have peaked a little bit. You know, I peak a little bit before we. Sometimes I have time, sometimes I don't. But I know what Dennis is talking about, and just again, if people haven't seen this, trying to get there. But he said, "Listen." Dennis says, "So far we're not sold. Listen. You see why." So here we go. Oh, Dennis.
That's from South America, right? Okay. So obviously, culturally. Very, very different from what you would see here in the Northeast or in Northern America. So his upbringing really consisted of he didn't have an education, so their education was a trade. So
and he was a carpenter.
He was a carpenter, so he learned carpentry very, very young, and his father Endrin was a constable they had lived in a village.
Okay.
And they were responsible between my grandfather, my dad, and his brothers. They actually built almost an entire village because they were all carpenters. So he had his own little workforce. But what does strict look like? My father was the type that from a young child, I always had a task list, right? Chores.
Yeah.
I had a schedule to follow. He would have it. It was always on the back of my door. So, and I was also a latchkey child. So there was a lot of times where I'd come home and there would be no one home.
Oh.
So from the time I was 8 till I would say maybe my mid-teens, I was coming in and out, letting myself in and out of the house.
So you developed a lot of responsibility at a young age.
Very quickly. Yeah. He had a schedule that was lined up with everything that I needed to do. And if things weren't done, then there would be consequences. So
incoming memberships. I just handed out 5 memberships. Simon, welcome to the membership. Karen, Gigi, Dennis Sweeney, a member. Great. Jermaine and Nochamama. Welcome in. 1 month free on me. And I will be having a members only show this upcoming week. You're not going to want to miss that guest. So here we go.
I didn't watch a whole lot of TV. There was only a lot of, really a period of time on Saturdays. And it was only after we cleaned the house and did all our chores where I had 2 hours where I could watch TV. Wow. Everything else was, he wanted us reading books. He did not like us watching TV because he felt, that, and it's kind of similar to social media. He felt that those things would poison your mind, and he felt it was better to educate yourself. So he was very, very strict disciplinarian.
And I do want to talk about social media, but further on in the interview.
Sure.
Wow. So that's quite an upbringing.
Yeah. A little bit, I would say. Yeah.
Well, let's discuss the Canton Police Department and its current status, because there are needs. How many officers do you currently have, and how many do you need?
So I think we're about at 36. We're supposed to be, I think, complete total from administrative staff to civilians. We should be close to 51. Right now, we're down about 9 officers. We're having major difficulty bringing people in, and this,
it's not good. Well,
I don't want to say it's just Canton, because it really isn't. I mean, if you look at law enforcement across the country, there's staffing shortages all over, which has caused law enforcement to kind of really figure out how they're going to recruit and hire people. So sometimes that results in creating different opportunities within an agency to attract people to come. But we're also here in particular with Canton. Obviously, some of the national attention that we've received is obviously detrimental to that.
But now, and I'm going to be critical here, now it's your job to turn this around into an opportunity. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of things that play into why people probably don't want to be police officers. Look at the situation that happened in Canton. I mean, would you want to be wrapped up in that type of scandal that went on? And also, I mean, we see that police aren't as protected as well. Like in situations, they may be understaffed and they get themselves into a life-threatening situation. That's not good either. But I think we have an opportunity here to be more transparent in our policing, in doing things by regulations and by operations. And this is what he's hired for. He said he was going to come here and he was going to use his expertise to basically, straighten out Canton, get it on the correct road and path that everybody can build trust in him and build trust back in that police department, holding police officers accountable. And we heard that in many, many reports, even just back to, the Five Stones report, all the inconsistencies and the mismanagement of practices and operations that they had. I mean, even in Michael Easter's report that we went through the other night, Michael Easter pointed out major areas of opportunity, major areas of questioning the policing that went on in Canton. So this is his opportunity now. He's 2 months in, and now he has the opportunity to get this thing turned around, get this ship sailing, and bringing back trust to the community of Canton. All right, here we go.
When people have options to go elsewhere, they're going to go elsewhere. It is what it is.
You're welcome. You're welcome,
I see my role and my job as the chief of Canton PD and your chief is to, get the staffing levels up so that you and, the citizens of the community can receive the services that they deserve, right?
So you talk about not needing 9 officers.
I kind of wanted to address this. Karen says, thanks for releasing all the new videos. Yeah, I appreciate that. And, there were many, many links posted. I don't know how many how many subscribers here are on X. Those links were floating around everywhere on X, and I was part of a previous FOIA request that when the second dump came through, and I'm pretty sure that the Norfolk DA's office just has a list now, a list of names that this gets out. I mean, I got it. I saw links for the new data dump a day before I even got it in my email. It's just what people decided to do with it and translate it and go through it. When I get new document dumps, or if I get a FOIA request, I'm on it right away. And I start going through it and finding things to talk about on my channel. I mean, this stuff was all publicly accessible. It's really what you decide to do with it. And if you want to thumb through it and go through it. And then, another thing too, that I've always been said is just start doing some FOIAs. If you want information, and you want to get information to cases that you're looking about, I'm learning now how to get court audio. There's no video for it. I get court audio. There's a website that you can go to. You can get the court audio for like $10, and I've been uploading it on my channel. I did that with the Enrique court audio. They said there's a pool camera. They were going to video it, and there was no video that came out. So I'm like, well, I want people to hear the actual hearing. So I went out, paid the $10 and uploaded it on my channel. I mean, all this stuff is very easy to do. FOIA requests, get audio and video. This is people that come here at LTL. This is what they want to see. So that's what I bring to them on my channel. But it just takes a little elbow grease and work, and it's pretty easy to find this stuff, or just do a FOIA request and get it. I do it. I work a full-time job and do YouTube pretty much full-time too. And then I have time to put FOIA requests. Believe me, I wish I had the opportunity, as this was my full-time job, and I can sit here all day and sling out 1 million FOIA requests, but I don't have that much time. But anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, thank you for saying that. And if that's the stuff that you want, then I'm going to continue to try to get it. Of course, it's easy to do a FOIA request. A little elbow grease, little work, a little research, and it'll get you there. All right, here we go.
But 51 in total. So you kind of lumped it into administrators.
Yeah.
Can you differentiate
2 months,
between
only 2 months.
what the needs are?
So a police department this size, you have to have a command staff that supports I would say the line level, which is the operational portion of the agency, which consists mostly of the people that do the work at the ground level. When I say do the work, I'm talking about those are the people that have contact with the citizens of the community. So right now, what we're seeing, and typically on a given shift, like I'll take for example today, I have a desk sergeant who oversees the communications center, and then we have another officer that's on the desk that helps to dispatch and sends officers out on calls. We have 4 sectors or 3 sectors that are within the community. But typically we should be running about five or six officers on a shift. But when you take 2 of those people off the road and you put them inside the building, then you're really left with 4 and sometimes maybe even 3, right?
Mm-hmm. So that was my question about dispatch. Should officers be running the dispatch, or should it be left to a staff person, someone like a college student like you, that when you were growing up? What should be done about that?
Good turn.
So, there's different solutions. I think, obviously hiring civilians to occupy to me, that's a profession on its own. And I want to be very clear. The role now is very different from when it was when I was doing it, right?
Okay.
There's more that you have to be accountable for. You're dispatching. When I started, I was just strictly receiving, police calls and sending them out. And then if a fire call came in or EMS call came in, I would transfer that, right? But that causes a delay in response, right? So you have that, but now you have to be certified. You have to be trained before you used to be able to, they would just take somebody off the street and say, okay, you're going to sit the desk, we'll train you for 2 weeks, and then you're answering phones and stuff. But now it's just like being a police officer. It's a profession. You have to be trained and certified.
So should it be regional? And what would that look like?
So, you jumped ahead a little bit. No, it's okay. It's okay. And it's keeping me on track. And I appreciate that. So I do believe it should be regional. I mean, there's proponents, there's people that offer cons to it. But to me, I feel as though, and I think this is the way it should be, that should be a dedicated professional position for career dispatchers or communications officers. That's my feel.
So not patrol officers, but specific to dispatch.
Right.
And a regional office would be where, and what would that look like?
Right. So right now, Holbrook is the regional communications center. And as far as I know right now, our EMS and fire services are dispatched out of the Holbrook center. So if a call, my understanding is that if a call comes into our control center, it gets rerouted to Holbrook. The other thing too, people are they're cautious about this because, at the end of the day, when you want someone that knows the community, right? So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Regional communications, you may get a dispatcher that's not from Canton. They may be from Stoughton. They may be from Dedham or.
Let me answer this. I believe that I have a while ago and it was denied. I have to go back and look through my requests, but I might be able to get an answer to that. I got to go back and look through some folders. I think I was denied on something on that, but I can check because I've been slinging a lot of them out
somewhere around, but they're assigned to Canton.
Okay.
Right. So they don't know the little nuances with Canton. They don't know, okay, this person's called us 100 times and, we know where they live. We know where the landmarks are. We know exactly where to, having a police officer, they know. Yes. Right. So they know all these little nuances. And the other difference too is if you have a communications person that's working from a regional facility, they don't have direct contact with those officers. So they don't know the nuances of the officers. Right. It's a very interesting thing. When I was a dispatcher, because I was close to the officers, I would know when an officer was stressed or if they were at a call that they were uncomfortable with or they were in fear. Right. And having that intuition and having that knowledge of the people that I personally work with, I could say, all right, I'm going to send more resources. They're not asking for it, but I can tell that there's stress in their voice.
Yeah.
Right. So there's pros and cons.
There's a drawback to regional, but also it would, if dispatch became regional, it would allow more officers on the ground, so to speak, throughout Canton.
Yeah, and then it will allow us. We're a very reactive police department right now, and that becomes problematic because when you have a reactive agency, they're reacting to crime. So in other words, there's one of the major issues that I get are people that people call me about, traffic enforcement, right? So that's one of the more proactive things that we can do, right? To create a condition where people feel uncomfortable driving down Walpole Street or wherever it is, Neponset Street, at a high rate of speed. We don't have enough staff to put somebody there dedicated consistently, at those troubled times, so that we can change the behavior of the people traveling through the community.
Put speed bumps in, those like temporary speed bumps. I see those things go up all the time in like problematic areas in and around, my neighborhoods. They do that where they don't have enough people to go out and be in a dedicated spot. Just put temporary speed bumps out. How about those spike strips? Now get people to stop fucking speeding. Right? Put some temporary spike strips down. That'll stop people from fucking speeding. No, but seriously, those the module speed bumps, I've seen those things go up and they just throw a sign up, and that tends to slow traffic down in those areas too. So, I mean, there's a quick solution. Come on.
So, understandably
All right.
so, I think,
what's going on?
people, they feel upset and they think that we're not being responsive, but I've put out directives for things, but for us to see, and this is what I mean by being reactive versus proactive, for us to see a change in behavior, we have to be proactive about handling it, which means, looking at data, identifying where the problem issues are, and, triaging them in order of importance and putting police officers there consistently.
Nah, you can do it with speed bumps. Believe me, cost you probably maybe $1,000 to get them. I don't know how much those things cost. Module speed bumps. I mean, I don't know if they have like state regulated ones. Let's see. Speed bumps. Let's see. Yeah, they're like $250 from Uline. There's really expensive ones, heavy duty ones, 14 footers. They're like $1,200. Come on, you can get those, write it off on the town, solve your problem a little bit. Yeah, or just here's another solution: just put up signs that say bump and speed. And people will slow down thinking there's a speed bump. That's a good solution too, because they got probably those digital signs, right? Speed bump area coming up. Let's see. JP, $5 says, I live in Bucks County, PA. Our 911 centers go to the county emergency communication center. Bucks County solved the Cosmos De Niro case pretty quickly. I didn't follow that case, but thank you so much for filling us in. Maybe I'll have to check that out. All right, let's go. I don't know if they have body cameras now. Maybe they're going to talk about it here. They should.
So that the behavior changes, but we can't do that because of the staffing now. But we're
being
able,
visible in the community on a consistent basis.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. If I was able to take those two officers and put them out on the street, have a
look like anything yet.
Supervise the officers out on the street, and take that officer that's in there and put them out. That creates the proactivity, right? So, and then you have to account for vacation.
Yeah, there you go,
those
Dennis.
things that people take off, and you have to backfill those positions.
Right. So let's talk about positions. You just recently hired a new deputy chief in town, and he was presented at the select board meeting.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about him and that hire?
Yeah. So in the reading, and I know we're going to go into this a little bit later, we talked about the audit report. When I looked at the audit report, there were a lot of things that I saw, and I'm not going to say, I thought the audit report was done really well, but I think there were some areas that were definitely missed. And those were things that I was able to see because of my background, right? So my background's in accreditation, policy, research, and analysis. I'm a civil rights officer. So I have a lot of things, regulatory things in my background that are helpful to me in seeing how what best practice looks like, right? So when I went to Oxford was very similar to Canton without the national attention, where they had a lot of things that were inefficient, things that weren't being done correctly or in the spirit of best practice.
Real quick, let me get this one. JP, I'm saying it right. I think it's De Niro case was 4 missing teens ended by De Niro on a family farm. Oh, interesting. I'll have to look that up after the show and look into that. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. The $5. We are only one super chat away from meeting my goal. So that would be great. And then, maybe we get past that. We'll start a new goal. Appreciate it. And all the latecomers coming in, make sure to smash that like button when you come in. We're watching an interview on Canton Community TV that just dropped a couple days ago, and getting the first kind of lengthy sit-down interview of the newly appointed Canton Police Chief Daniels. All right, here we go.
That could potentially become liability. So
I do want to talk about the audit report.
Sure.
Yeah, but continue, please. Sorry.
So when I went to Oxford, because it was smaller, it was more manageable for just me to kind of get things going and identifying some of the issues there and fixing them. During that process,
thank you, GG.
Deputy Chief Gifford Cruz was.
Thank you so much.
He was a member
Start a new
of the
goal.
Oxford Police Department. He had about 14 years on. And in getting to know him, I actually found out that he was, he's managed, working in Oxford, my observation of him was working in Oxford to him was too small.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because he had overseen 350 people on a naval warship.
Oh, wow.
Right. So he's a Navy veteran.
Thank you, GG.
His job was hiring, recruiting, right, and training. So, and he's
all the things Canton needs right now.
Right. So that was that was one of the reasons why I tapped him for this job. He worked as my operations lieutenant, and not to say that people at the Canton PD can't do the job, but being an outsider, I have a different set of eyes, and I know where there might be flaws and things that need to be fixed. And this gentleman he helped me architect what we did in Oxford. And those are things that have helped Oxford. Oxford is a very professional, not saying Canton's not professional, but it's a high performing department because we were able to work together with the command staff there and build some of the things that need to be put in place so that best practices are practiced.
Okay, so he's a new full-time hire
here, right?
Yep. So he started. I believe it was yesterday. I haven't really had a chance to connect with him because he's been, doing a lot of administrative work at the town hall and then getting everything set up. So it's going to take him a while to get ramped up. But I also have Deputy Chief Patty Sherrill, who's also going to be training him. So I'm confident he'll get up to speed relatively quick, and then we can, start, we can start helping things move along for the PD.
Okay, so let's talk about the audit now.
Sure.
Here we go.
On it.
Yeah.
But
Come on,
Five
Andrea.
Stones Intelligence was hired to do an audit of the police station. Their results came back in April of 2025.
Yeah.
And they had, a tremendous amount of recommendations, and we can go through them.
Sure.
But did you agree with their findings?
So I'll say this. So I would say that and this is me as an external person coming from where I came from and the background that I came from, I would say 99.5% of what they found was, and this is with the understanding that they were reduced. So the scope that they could look was dictated by the town, right? So they said, we want you to look at these things, right? So they looked at those things. But to me, when I look at a situation, I look at systemic things, right? And sometimes if you're just doing an overview and you're focused on individual things, you don't get the full feel of things. And I also have the advantage of working with these guys and girls every day and observing. I sit back. So I have 3 things that I do.
So wait, since you've been to Canton, you've been observing how things are run?
Yep. So, obviously I knew I did.
What I see here is he tries to briefly answer the question, kind of roundabouts it, but then we'll drag out his answer really long. And that's why, Andrew's doing a good job of kind of pulling him back in when he starts to tail off too much. But that's what I'm seeing what's going on here. It's a lot of, I was going to say vague and word salad-y type of answers. Yeah. All right, let's continue.
Did my homework. I knew all the issues that were going on. I watched all the selectmen meetings going back years,
Okay.
So I got a good feel for, and a lot of people don't know that. They think I'm coming into town and not really understanding the gravity of what's here. But, you know, before I take on any task, I do immense research. And I look at.
Okay. So if you know what the gravity is, say those things like, yeah. And again, this is a great point, Brendan. I was just going to say this, I was getting to that. Say what the things are that you need to work on. We haven't heard that yet. And he's like, I did a lot of research. Okay. Well, what are the things that you're doing? I know if I was to go in a new business, I would do probably like 2 weeks of observation. I would see what's going on in and around the department. And then what I would do is take that information and go back and translate it and do a 30, 60, 90-day business plan. You know, what can we do in the first 30 days? What can we do in the first 60? What can we do in the first 90? And then along those lines, as you're restructuring and you're putting in, you know, new operational procedures, you're hiring new people, you've got to hold people accountable. And that's what did not happen in Canton. It was the fucking Wild West for a very long time. And then we ended up in the situation with John O'Keefe, you know, dead on the front of someone's lawn, and everybody's going, I don't know, but we're just going to blame it on her. You know, that's how we got here.
At ways that I can fix things. So, you know, relative to this report, when I was going to, when I applied for the job, we were asked to do a written assignment, which I would so badly want people to see, because they will be confident that if they looked at my written assignment and they looked at the audit report and you put those two things together, I think a lot of people would not feel that, because I know there's a segment of the community that feels, well, you know, you didn't find corruption, or you didn't find this, or you didn't find that. And I can tell you there isn't corruption. I can say that definitively and with confidence. What I will tell you is that the things that
no corruption.
These are things that I'm looking at now. There are things that need to be done a lot better, right? There needs to be efficiency in a lot of areas. And I've already gathered my command staff. We had a command staff meeting, I believe last week, and I'm starting to realign some.
All right. So now I'm going to ask everybody, maybe I should read you the poll now. Oh, there's no corruption. I think I might have ended the poll by accident. There's no corruption. Let's see. I can't see the answers right now. But yeah, stop tiptoeing around. Yeah. So how are we feeling? Are we feeling confident now in Chief Daniels? Getting things cleaned up in Canton? Bah.
Some of these things. So when I came in, I always handle things in 3 phases. If you're going to implement change, the first thing you should do as a chief is you come in and you observe, right? You don't make any changes right away, because, you know, you don't want to give the perception that you're going to make change for the sake of change or political pressure, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I came in and I was supposed to stay in that phase for 3 months.
Observation phase.
But there are things that I see that
needed change right away.
I can say, yep, this is emergent. I got to get out of that mode. And so I watch how officers respond to calls, the timeliness of how they respond to calls. I review all reports.
You think?
And I've been doing that since I've been a chief, even when I was a lieutenant, or even a detective. I review reports and I look at how officers write reports. What things are they looking at? You know, simple things like, how is this form filled out? Are there task lists for certain things? One of my favorite books is Checklist Manifesto. And remember how I told you about my dad, how he would create checklists,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
What happens is that, you know, things become so routine, right? And I know this probably resonates with you.
Sure.
When you're accustomed to doing something over and over again, if it becomes complex, you sometimes forget the things that are rote, right? Because as soon as complexity is put into the situation, everything goes out the window. And then now you're trying to figure out how things, and unless you're trained appropriately, you're not going to be able to adapt. And so there's a lot of that, in what I see.
I still haven't heard the word accountability come out of his mouth yet. Have you? I don't know, maybe I've missed it. I mean, we're 25 minutes in. Has anybody heard the word accountability or accountable come out of his mouth yet? I haven't seen that. I mean, seen or heard it. Has anybody heard it? Did I miss it somewhere? Do I need to go back? Okay.
Right now in Canton.
Ian says no.
Okay, so
Believe you.
let's talk about that a little bit. You know, it was discussed that we have, or the Canton Police Department has, you know, great instructions. It's the follow through that there were issues with, like the crime scene protocols.
All right, before we get into this is a good question here. But JP says he's trying to say that the police work. Don't worry about the corruption you've seen. We still have speeders. I like that. That's really good. Yeah, it's a fair point. Like, you know, just you know, didn't follow procedures in the reports. 5 Stones come out, put it in their report. Procedures weren't followed. Michael Easter said there's major issues with the Canton PD. And yeah, we'll talk about those damn speeders. We don't have enough cops to put in the spots of the speeders. All right, here we go.
It was, you know, 5 Stones talked about, you know, that our police force has a lack of training because we don't have murders in Canton every day. But can you discuss like that type of training, what our police officers need if they do, you know,
we better hear accountability here.
As, you know, what's happening.
We're going to hear accountability.
Okay. So I'll give you a brief overview of some of the things, because I've made the promise that I will, in a public forum, discuss this in greater detail. But I'm gonna
we're gonna get a run around here.
Of, you know, give you a brief overview of how, you know, this study versus what I'm seeing comes into play now.
Ready? Let's help him. Let's coach him. Accountable. Accountable. We should hear that word in this segment coming up. I'm going to hold people or officers accountable. That's what we should hear here. We should hear that word in this brief overview. All right. But I don't think we're going to get it. I just don't think we're going to get it. Maybe. If we get it, I'll drop 5 more memberships. If we hear accountable in this segment, I'll drop 5 free memberships.
I'll always say this, and you probably heard me say this if you watched my interview. If my officers are not performing to a satisfactory level, that's a problem with leadership, right? And I'm not, you know, saying anything about my predecessors or anything. This is how I feel, right?
Okay,
this is my experience, right? And it's not the fault of the officers if I'm not holding people to a specific standard when they do things, right? If I'm not giving them the training, if I'm not giving them the tools, right? A lot of times, especially with specialized units, there's always, you know, this false narrative, I would say, where, because people, they watch TV and they think that things get solved like this and things are obvious. And that's not always the case, especially if you're not running into those things, right? There's I always talk about, you know, I got this from a friend of mine and it made perfect sense. He said, you know, when you have high impact things that happen with low frequency, you can't expect to perform at top notch level because you're not seeing it a lot, right? So if you have, you know, a homicide detective at the NYPD, right? They handle these things probably hundreds of times a year, and they do these things over and over again, and they know where the mistakes are, right? There's a brief period. And when I say brief, there's, before you go into anything, right? There should be a convergence of minds, right? Where a leader in that group says, listen, this is what we have. This is what we're going to do. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. These are your areas of responsibility. Go do it and take care of it. And that person is removed enough from the scene where they can observe and watch. They're not involved. They watch and they make sure people are handling things appropriately, right? So we've increased the training, and it's not just under me. It was under the interim chief, Joe Perkins.
Okay.
He did a phenomenal job, by the way, with looking at the audit report and kind of transitioning from my predecessor into he literally walked into fire, and he said, all right, these are low-hanging fruit. These are the things that we're going to do. There's still a lot of work to be done. That's why I'm here.
Right. Well, the audit,
I win,
talked
you lose.
about.
I win, the chat loses. Sorry. I was going to drop 5 free memberships if he said accountability, anything to that sort. He just said it's a problem with leadership. He didn't say if there's an issue with an officer. What did he say? It's a problem with leadership. Still didn't say he was going to hold anybody accountable. I mean, you need to put your foot down in this community. You need to put your foot down as the chief of police now and say, look, I'm going to hold any officer that screws up in my department accountable. We didn't get that. We didn't get it.
3 cases in particular,
Right.
the Craig Casey case, Sandra Birchmore, and John O'Keefe, and improvements that needed to be made with the crime scene protocols.
Sure.
Can you discuss that?
Not in detail. There obviously, I think everybody knows that there's still some things out there being litigated, right? So I'm not at liberty to really discuss those in great detail. But what I will tell you is that there, obviously things could be done better in some scenarios, right? I'm not saying that that's, and in fact, the officers that were in one of those did an actual good job. But what happens is, and I'm going to tell you this,
okay,
and I want to be very clear, because this was something that was put in the Boston Globe. I had to respond to them. Canton PD and the town of Canton have become kind of, I would say, and for lack of a better term, the whipping boy, right? For certain things. I had a reporter, many reporters ask me, well, Canton Police Department, they failed to, identify this as this, or they didn't recognize this as this, right? But the problem with that is that, and this is where, I want the public and the people of Canton to know, there's other agencies involved in this, right? And so some of those agencies don't want to experience the wrath that we've faced here, right? So it's
blame shifting. We're seeing it. There's other agencies involved. With 30 minutes in, I still haven't heard the word accountability happen yet. Yep. Pointing fingers, blame shifting. Here we go.
Easy for Canton PD to be the dumping ground on things. And I can tell you, they did a good job with one of the cases that you're talking
Everybody
about.
else.
And I think it's important for people to know that. And I'm not going to allow, and this is the other thing too.
All right.
I'm not going to allow, another agency or, anyone else hold us hostage for things that we could have done better in the past.
Well, let's talk about the audit. Did show different protocols needed to be made. That the Canton Police Department was recusing themselves right away when there was a death, and I think they pointed out that they shouldn't do that. They should just alongside an investigation stay with the DA's office. So is that kind of what you're referring to when you talk about that?
Yeah, I do. I do think we have a very capable group of people from all the way from the very bottom to the top. I think people need to give our officers and our detectives and our investigative unit a chance to prove themselves under new leadership, right?
Okay, yeah.
With new training, new equipment, and the things that they need. They have the tools now.
All right.
Right.
So yes, something that was discussed was having, collection kits in the cruisers.
Right. So that was corrected under Chief Joe Perkins. And just the other day,
It doesn't have anything to do with me.
Deputy Chief Gifford Cruz, we were given a tour, and we were now stocked up with all the things that we didn't have, which is good. And the cruisers have all the equipment in them, which is one of the reasons why we asked for larger cars, right? Because now we asked for Tahoes, which now we can put all that equipment in the back, and they're readily available for the officers so that this doesn't happen.
Oh wow! So you'll be getting them, or Tahoes, or
so that was put on a capital request.
Town meeting.
At town meeting by I believe it was Chief Perkins, but his thought process was, you know, we already have a ton of equipment, but I want to make sure that this isn't, you know, problematic in the future, and there can be no excuses as to why the equipment wasn't present. So
I see. Okay.
yeah.
So let's move on and let's talk about the internal affairs process and the conflicts that have occurred. You know, we touched upon the proper chain of command, but like when someone files a complaint, how is that processed? And we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Do you hold people accountable?
So sometimes people think that, you know, and this has happened to me very recently, you know, they have a complaint against an officer. They want to bypass the process that's in place, best practice across the country, and have a conversation with the chief, right? And make a complaint. Now, what people don't understand is that, you know, although I'm not the appointing authority that can fire someone, I'm responsible for a high level of discipline, right? So as soon as somebody makes a complaint
accountable
to me, right, it now becomes problematic because now I guess I'm almost like a witness or kind of involved in it, and then I have to do a report, and I'm not looking at it. It needs to be investigated through the proper process. So the way the IA process, you know, happens is if, you know, let's say, and I'm just using an example, you know, let's say someone wants to allege that there was a use of force incident or where excessive force was used. The proper protocol is everyone knows we have body cameras now. That was a part of one of the corrections.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, let me just pause here. JP again, $5. Thank you so much, JP. He says, I honestly, I kind of feel for him. He's handed a shit sandwich to fix. How he fixes it will be his legacy. Yeah, I guess I can tend to agree with that. But I think, you know, I think people need some more upfront honestness and transparency here. And I think he had the opportunity to do this. And I kind of feel like he's sidestepping a lot of this stuff. I mean, we still haven't heard the word accountability come out of his mouth. And that's a big thing that Canton needs right now, especially out of a new chief and new, you know, potential new officers that are going to come into the department. And this is his opportunity to be a little bit tough, you know, to be a little bit tough. And if you don't like my rules, then maybe this is not the department for you, because I have a job here to clean this up and make sure that this department is running cleanly, efficiently, and effectively without corruption in it. You know, from what we see, you know, from what we've seen, you know, the writing is on the wall with the Canton PD. And again, you know, and maybe he's just being, I don't know, maybe he's being a little soft right now. Maybe he toughens things up. I don't know. But there is, you know, I agree. This will be his legacy, but it's his job to get this cleaned up. And, you know, 2 months in, you know, look, by the 3rd, 4th, 5th month, you know, this should be a little bit more streamlined here in Canton. All right, here we go.
So, you know, the proper protocol for that is, you know, you come in and you file a complaint at the front desk. The desk officer will take the complaint. We've revamped the form so that they're more detailed, right? Put the complaint out, the person fills it out. It goes up the chain of command to the supervisor. Then it goes to the deputy chief, who then will assign that case to, will assign a number and assign that case to someone to investigate the IA. Now, after that happens, the IA investigator is the person that then speaks to all the witnesses. They're going to review body camera footage. They're going to review reports, call logs, and things like that. And those are going to be properly documented. They're going to be admitted as exhibits, right, to an overall document. And it's usually pretty lengthy. And then what happens is after that, there's a summary that's produced. And then once the summary is produced, it gets kicked back up to our deputy chief of administration, who analyzes it for policy violations. Once the deputy chief looks at it and brings it to me, says, Chief, here are the policy violations. Here's my recommendation. I review it. I look at it. make a determination, and then I determine whether someone's going to get a suspension, do they need retraining, or whatever discipline they need.
Okay, so this is the
All right, we heard
protocol now.
discipline,
This
which
is
is
what
good.
you'll be doing at this point. But in previous years, people would just call the chief or would just call their police officer friend. And that's where the audit came into play. Learned that, you know, police officers were using their own cell phones, their personal cell phones. And that's changed. Can you talk about those changes that have been implemented?
So I'll tell you from personal experience, you know, I worked as a detective in Westboro, and it wasn't until the new chief came in, Jeff Laurie, who happens to be, you'll hear me talk about him a lot. He happens to be my mentor. He's the chief of police over in Falmouth. There was a law that came out where officers were taking pictures of people at accident scenes and then sending them, you know, all over the place. And, you know, those officers lost their jobs over that. But because of that, the chief at the time had said, listen, you shouldn't be using your personal cell phone for anything work related, right? When you're at work, you use your work cell phone.
Yeah, I don't know when, and I removed the chat, but I don't know when 420 Hobbies came in. And I'd go back and watch his pedigree. I mean, he's got a tons of experience. It's just that what we're hoping, and I mean this, the Canton community, I don't live in Canton, but I'm just saying this, it's what the people of Canton are hoping, that he uses that experience and gets Canton cleaned up. And I get it. There's some people in the chat like, give him a break. It's only been 2 months. You know, I get it. I think a lot of it is that it's so critical and that people want this to happen. You know, we tend to see when things are really broken, especially what happened to John O'Keefe and the investigation into John O'Keefe's death, you know, how botched it was. I think people are looking for that instant fix. They're looking for that person to come in and be hard and set the standards right away and hold people accountable and say those words and then put those words into action. You know, I think people are just a little bit tougher given the situation, you know, that happened over 4 years in Canton. That Karen Reed case in the death of John O'Keefe made, you know, Canton a living hell for a lot of people. I mean, listen, just even Dennis Sweeney being in the chat, the shit that he's gone through in Canton, you know, in 4 years for standing up for something that he believed in, you know, and was scrutinized and people came at him for his views on the Canton Police Department and how they handled the death of John O'Keefe and how they treated Karen through all of this. So I think, you know, people kind of tend to want that immediate fix. And I understand it doesn't happen overnight. I get it. But sometimes when your community is hurting, there's got to be a little bit more of a sense of urgency and get things done. And that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but that's kind of, you know, it's how I feel. But let's continue. Chief Daniels.
If you have to take a picture, you take pictures with your work cell phone, right? So we know where things go, we can track it, we monitor it. And that's part of what the study found. So prior to my arrival here, they all officers from top to bottom all have work cell phones that are monitored by you know, our IT department, right? And they're locked down. So that was a part of the study. You know, so I think, you know, that's been resolved. So we all have, including myself. I've always had one.
What?
Karen says $10. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it. She says he's a smooth talker. I was wowed by him during his interviews. I was too. I think he's very intelligent. I think that he's well qualified for the job. But again, it's just, you know, people want action. People want accountability in Canton. You know, that's the vibe that I get when I speak to the people that live in and around that area, and they're frightened. They don't want to go through another John O'Keefe scenario. They don't want to go through, you know, through that again. And then Karen goes on and says, then again, I was also wowed by the outfit and that did the audit and look at the results. They kowtowed to the town council. It's true. I want to believe in Chief Daniels. I do. I think he's on the right path to fixing a lot of the things. But I think, people listen, look, it's an extremely stressful time in Canton. People just want things to change. And I understand that. And I can feel everybody's point of view that it is not going to happen overnight. And that's very true. But they just want to see some changes. And, some of the things that he's done here sounds like he's going to put this thing in the right direction. But I think people want to hear accountability. They don't want corrupt cops in this organization anymore. They don't want corrupt cops in their town. There's a lot of townies that in and around on that force, and they want that change. And that's it. All right, let's keep going here.
What is
good discussion tonight?
The procedure. You come on duty and you're given a department cell phone, or you always have the same one?
Each officer is assigned a cell phone, and I think that's a great move. For me, I live and die by my phone because I don't sleep very well because I'm always waiting for the phone to ring. And I'm not saying that the officers have to do that, but if they're going to do anything business related, it should be on a business phone.
Okay, so they have department issued phones
Sure.
that they keep with them at all times.
Right.
Great. I want to circle back to the internal affairs process. We did discuss it. Is there a length of time that investigations are supposed to take place? I'm thinking, in recent news, Canton Police Officer Sean Good has been on administrative leave due to an internal affairs investigation.
Sure.
And it's been 6 months. Is that normal?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It depends on, so typically if you're talking about, someone you walked into the police station, this morning and you wanted to file a complaint against a particular officer, that could take, up to 30 days, right? Because you're talking about an IA investigator, interviewing, all the people involved. I've seen internal affairs investigations last a year. I've seen them last 2 years. It just depends on the level of involvement. You could have 30 people that you have to interview, right? And even the most basic investigation, outside of internal affairs, you have to, obviously you have to make sure that there's due process. You're following, everything that you need to follow, because, at the end of the day, you don't want it to come back on the department. But beyond that,
And it does have to do with personal cell phone use.
yeah, it could be. So one of the, obviously that, I think that happened in October. He still is an employee here, and, I'm not in a position to really go any further than that. But as far as investigations are concerned, to answer your question, sometimes they could take a long period of time. But that's because, it's just like anything else. There's a demand for due process. We've seen certain cases last for 3 years, 4 years, right? And then after that, there's, other litigation. So that's just the way it is.
Now, the Canton Police Department is investigating Sean Good, or is it an outside element too?
Yes. So those are things that occur outside.
Oh, okay. Outside of Canton.
And that's
the way
all.
it should be, probably, right?
Yeah.
And allegedly, his text messages are just as bad as Proctor's. And if you guys saw the other day, Karen did win her motion. She's going to be able to see and use some of Proctor's texts. And from what I'm hearing, Goods is just as worse, if not worse than Proctor's. And that's the rumors that I'm hearing. All right, here we go.
So let's talk about the radios, the radios that they have. In our prior meeting, you had said that they needed an upgrade.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So one of the things that I noticed in the observational period is that there would be an officer would go on a call, and I could, if I was in transit in my cruiser, and if I was in a halfway point between where the station was and where the officer was, I could sometimes hear the transmission where the control center couldn't. or if the control center wanted to reach out to an officer, they can't communicate. And from what I understand, and I haven't delved too deep into this, I know this is something that the town has been working on, is our radio infrastructure is not good.
Okay.
So we're running into situations where, and I heard it just a few weeks ago, an officer lost radio contact with control, and the sergeant was on the desk. He ordered another officer to leave his sector to go and back the other officer up because we had lost radio contact with him. So that's problematic. That's a safety issue. It's a morale issue. Mm-hmm. You know, the officers, you know, they want to know that there's help on the way if something happens. Right. And unfortunately, right, and this is a thing, you know, this is something that should have been looked at a long time ago. And I don't know why it hasn't, but the officers clearly they don't feel safe. It's not safe, you know. So
you need proper communication.
You do, and that's the most vital piece of technology. I mean, and this is the thing: if something happens at your house, right, and you know an officer needs help to help you, and they can't get help, then you know you're dependent on what that officer can do. You don't know. You just don't know. Mm-hmm. When you call for help, you want help coming. As many people as humanly possible to resolve the situation. And we don't always have access to that.
Okay, so will that be something coming up at town meeting as well?
I do believe that was already set up in the capital plan. That's already been being looked at. I'm not sure. I'm not a communications guru. Okay. But I do know that is something that's in the works that we're going to be looking at to rectify. All
right. Let's talk about the body-worn cameras, because when were they implemented?
So I believe probably almost maybe a year ago.
Okay.
From this time, I'm not sure exactly when, but obviously they've been the officers have been wearing them since I've been there.
Okay. Well, now officers have the ability to turn them off.
Yes.
And I'd like to know, like, when and why, like what circumstances.
Sure.
Are they allowed to shut them off?
I Googled a couple of minutes ago, and it was according to the Google, it said there were no body cameras, but apparently there are. Good to know.
Off, or is it over privacy issues?
So on a side note, I implemented the body-worn camera program in Westboro.
Oh, okay.
And a very interesting side note to that.
Years ago.
Yes. So Chief Jeff Laurie, he had asked me to write a policy and a grant for the implementation. And this was before the George Floyd incident.
Yeah.
He had asked me to look at this grant. I looked at it and I said, we're not going to be able to do this. And I said, and also it's not going to be, you know, something that we're going to be able to get past with the unions, right? Because it is a change of working conditions, right? So long story short, it ended up actually taking off and the officers embraced it. So I had that experience coming into here, but I also was a part of I was nominated to be a member of the body-worn camera task force at the state level.
Okay.
Where they made recommendations for the implementation of body-worn camera policies across the Commonwealth. So I developed the policy in Westboro that was best practice that a lot of agencies in Central Mass are using as a template because of the knowledge that I gained from that. So in particular to Canton, to answer your question, so best practice is, you know, each body-worn camera has what's called a buffer period, right? So they're always recording, right? Video recording. They're not audio recording.
Okay.
Okay. So
it's a two-person consent state. Is that?
Yes and no. Okay. Yes, it is two-party consent.
Two-party consent.
But you're bringing up my point, which is good. In public, you know, when I go out and I hit my body cam and it turns on, I'm good. I'm in a public environment. People, you know, say, well, I'm in my car. Well, if your car is on a public way, right, you're in public. So the officer turns on their body cam. Where we have to shut it off is any medical facilities. Anytime we walk into a private area, a bathroom, unless we're there for legitimate reasons, going to someone's house, right? Unless there's exigent circumstances. Now, typically what the officers will do, they'll turn on their body cameras when they get out, and they'll go in and, if someone sees that the body camera's on, then they can request that the body cam be turned off. Now, the reason for that is that sometimes, you don't want to be in a situation where you have somebody that wants to give you information. Let's say, and the example that I use a lot is a sexual assault victim, right?
Yeah.
When they see the camera, it now becomes a barrier for them to communicate with you.
Okay.
Right. So those are some of the situations where you will see officers turn off their body cams.
So in public, they stay on.
Yes.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that leads me to my next question
Sure.
about privacy in the flock cameras. My understanding is flock cameras are placed around town to read people's license plates, and it's brought up some key privacy issues
Yes,
regarding the movements that police can track people's movements now.
Right.
What are your thoughts about the flock cameras?
So this has been a hot button topic, and I put out a statement regarding the flock system. When I was a chief in Oxford, I had flock come to meet with me. I see it as when I say force multiplier, I know you're going to ask me to explain that.
Yeah.
But I see it as a force multiplier.
Force multiplier.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Explain that, please.
So, for example, it's able to put us in spots where we normally wouldn't be in, or we're not available to be in, right? So strategic placement around high traffic areas and things like that. Let's say, so my partner's mother, she has early onset dementia, right? So she doesn't drive, right? But, I've been in situations where, I've been the responding officer to someone who's frantic because their loved one is taken off with the car. They try to, get a hold of them on the phone. There's no way that they can contact them. And so now it becomes, okay, where are we looking? Where does this person go? And we have nothing to go on, right? Having flock allows us to say, all right, what's your mom's plate number, your dad's plate number, or whatever? And we can put in a query as part of an investigation. It would generate a report and say, we're looking for this vehicle with this plate, right? So the flock system is a network and would say, okay, this car went through here. And it gives us a lead on things, right? So missing children, missing persons. There's other examples, but I think the biggest misconception that people have when they talk about privacy is when your vehicle's on the road. This is what flock does. Flock is a camera system that uses AI to look at a vehicle, look at the make, model, look at the plate, right, and connect it to a location, right? So it's not surveillance in the sense. Now, surveillance, I would take a GPS tracker through writing a search warrant and put it on your car,
okay,
where you would know that's surveillance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I would, there's a lot, but you need a search warrant to do that.
Right.
Right. So on another note, what people don't understand is that flock is that system is actually very restrictive. And
real quick, I'm just going to pause this for a second. JP, thanks for the 5. Look at that. We're one super chat away from hitting the second goal here on the channel. Appreciate you guys tonight. JP, $5 says flock is what actually solved the De Niro mass murder case I mentioned. Don't love it, but don't hate it. ICE has been abusing it. I got to look into this case, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I got to check it out after the show is done. Thank you for informing us tonight. All right. Chief Daniels, how's the temperature in the room now? We feeling better? Do you think, let's do a vote here real quick. I'm going to end this poll. So we had, let's see. I can't see the results, unfortunately. Where'd the results go? I think it was 60. Okay, here we go. Are you confident about Chief Daniels turning things around in Canton? 67% of you said no. 33% of you said yes. 215 votes. Let's just do this. Let's do another temperature change here. A check. How is everybody feeling? We're now 50 minutes into this interview. Do you feel that Chief Daniels is going to turn things around in Canton? If you do, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2 in the chat. Let's see. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let's go.
The information that it gives us. It just gives us a location, right? If you have a stolen vehicle, it gives us a location. I could just as easily, I don't have it in my cruiser, but I can go into a police cruiser and type in, you heard me talk about CGIS in my interview. I could type in a plate, I can type in your name, I can find out where you live, what kind of car you have, who lives in your house. Those are all things that we already have access to that are regulated. And we're talking about a camera system that is networked, that just, it reads plates and it says, yes, this was here.
So how, if you are, how do you access it? Is it information that's provided to you all day long? You know every car that's coming in and out of Canton. How is it accessed?
So per policy, and this is kind of a standard practice with most police departments that use it. Whenever you access the system, it has to be associated with a call number, a log note, or an incident case number, right? So you put in your name. When you go in, you have a username. That username is tracked, time-stamped, and it says what information you're looking for. Then you have to put in the reason that you're looking for it, and it has to be associated with an incident number, right? So that could be reviewed at any time by myself or my deputy chiefs to ensure compliance. But that's how it's tracked. So we always know who's going in it and what for. Now, if what they're looking for, right, and this is the other thing that people should know, this is why we generate incident numbers with these things, because if they're looking for a particular vehicle, that particular vehicle has to match the actual incident report. So when you do, if I'm doing a records query on something, I should be able to see that the query on Flock matches the query over here. So when I do an audit, I can go, okay, yep, there's a report number associated with that. There's a call log associated with that. This person did this, this, and this. And that's what it is. It's, and I understand, the concerns, but I also think too, and this is my belief, you have to educate people, right?
That's why we're here today.
Yeah, you do. You have to educate people, because if you're not educating them, then they're going to be left to wonder, and then it becomes problematic down the road.
Right. And there's been problems in Canton.
Yeah.
We're still feeling that.
Sure.
Through the police and truth and transparency.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about social media.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch the topic here. And the effect it's had on the police department.
Sure.
It was mentioned in the Five Stones intelligence report. And what's your take on it?
So the report itself, this is interesting, because when I did my written assignment, because I logged on to the town's, the police department's Facebook page to see what the comments were and things like that. And I noticed that there was nothing that you could see or whatever. It was all blocked. Now, I agree with that method, right? I agree with that. When I say I agree, given what the department and the town has been through, I don't think exacerbating a problem is a solution, right? You're not going to cause people to come together if you're constantly ridiculing things. It could be, I could sit here and give people puppies on social media, and then you have that one person that is like, I hate puppies, because they hate Canton PD, right? That's not what we're trying to do. So I do agree with that, but I also think social media can be used in a good way. But we've had struggles with it,
Yes.
One of the things, and I'll bring up two examples, because there's always narratives in these things, and people don't understand the motivations behind these narratives. And I'll give you two examples that I'd like to talk about. The first one was the night of my my appointment.
Okay.
When
real quick, Pretty Eyes, thank you so much. Look at my Canadian friends checking in tonight. I think I need one more. I do. Let me see. Right, I think we're 4 out of 5. I keep saying 3 out of 5. I know we're definitely past that. Interesting. Oh, the goal ended. That's why I had a timer on it. We could start another one. But thank you so much. $6.99er Canadian friends checking in. Thank you so much. Okay. About another 30 minutes. Thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. Make sure to smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Comment after this post. And thank you for the support tonight. You guys are awesome. Guys are awesome. All right, here we go.
The Board of Selectmen were voting on who they were going to select as a police chief. Mm-hmm. If you looked at that, there were many officers in the back.
There were along the back wall.
They were all in the back. And when there was a brief period where this is the other thing too, I had no idea what was going to happen. I thought a decision wasn't going to be made till a day or two later. I would find out the next day. But as I was walking out, our HR director said, hold on a second. There's going to be a decision made tonight. And she put me in a room and sequestered me.
Oh, okay.
So, but the officers that were present there, they had no idea if they needed to stick around or what was going on, and then they ended up leaving.
Right.
Right. So then when you go on social media, you start seeing, and I'm going to be genuine here. It's, they don't like him because he's black. They don't like him because he's this, he's going to clean house, he's going to do this, and they're disrespecting him, right?
Because they left.
And that's not the reason. And I'm going to tell you, the other thing is a lot of those people called me. I came into the station 2 weeks later, and I had a sergeant come to me and he goes, listen, we are so sorry about that. We weren't trying to disrespect you or and I said, listen, you don't have to explain to me. I know what the intentions were. I said, I was in the same situation you guys were years ago where a new chief came.
I got to be honest with you. I think a while ago, I did end up, and maybe we went through it or we didn't, but I did end up getting the hallway footage because I FOIA'd it, and that's what we wanted to figure out. Did those people leave? And apparently now he's clarified this. I think I was going to do a show on it one time and I just forgot to do it, or I didn't do it. I know I have that footage somewhere, but Daniels has explained it, so I don't really have to post it or go through it. But I think the angles of where the cameras were kind of really shitty. So it was kind of hard to figure out, like, did people leave or they didn't leave? I might have posted it on my channel. I can't remember, where we did a live stream about it, but for clarity, it looks like a lot of people did leave. All right, here we go.
Came in. I didn't even show up. And it wasn't because I didn't like the guy or because I wanted the internal guy. It was just because I didn't want to go.
So you are feeling welcomed within the station.
Oh my Lord. This is the thing that I feel bad for these guys.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to get emotional, but I do.
Okay.
I feel bad, and I feel bad because they're working hard for this community, and I see that, but the people don't. There's two groups, and I don't know what it is. So I feel bad for the people in the community that are. I had an officer just tell me the other day.
Okay.
He said, in this particular neighborhood that he lives in, there's other people that live there. They always used to have gatherings and get-togethers, right, with their neighbors, right? And so this is what I see in Canton, right? This is what I see, and this is from an officer.
Yeah.
we'd have gatherings. There'd be, someone would have a barbecue
Like
at their
a block
house.
party or something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We would go and do that. And, that doesn't exist anymore because, I'm associated with Canton PD, or I had a role in something that
I'm going to pause this real quick. And I hate to do this in like the middle of a point, but I want to get my point in. Have an event. Do something, I don't know, Officer Community Day, where you have an opportunity for, a gathering. And people can come out and meet the firefighters and police department and, speak to them one-on-one. Here, instead of just being at a fucking select board meeting, go out in the streets of Canton, have an event there. You do a meet and greet. I don't know, right? Build that relationship and the trust with the community through these. He's got a new deputy chief of police that he just hired. Have him go around, right? I don't know. Touch base with the people in the businesses here. Get out there on this, walk the street walk uptown on a Sunday or a Saturday. And I used to do that in my old town. Like a Sunday or Saturday, you'd see a couple of the officers walking up and down the streets, and they would be talking and stopping and chatting with people in the community. They used to do that. You can do things like that. So it's not a bad idea. It's free to do, right? What do they used to call that? Beat cops. You walk around on the street, talk to the community. Angela, thank you so much. $20. Appreciate that. She says, goals, great show tonight. And thank you. Well, thank all of you for being here as well. I appreciate, your feedback and all of this. All right, let's go back to Daniels here. Let's see what
I did the best that I could on.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So
yeah, they do that in my town.
To me, that's an awful, awful feeling to have coming into work every day for people that sometimes they don't want to see the other side.
Mhm.
Right. So I'm sorry.
No, it's understandable. You're objective. You're new
Yeah.
to the town, and there's a divide
And I
little bit.
want to add something else. We have a lot of young officers.
Yeah.
Even
Lot
better.
of young officers that I've talked to individually, and they're questioning, is it, and they live here.
I was going to ask how many officers, because it's been brought up that officers shouldn't live in the town that they serve.
Okay.
And I think that's old-fashioned New England. I think a lot of people serve where they live.
So there's two sides to that, but so yes and no.
Okay.
Right. And this is one of the issues that I have with civil service. You take a test, and this is entry level, right? You take a test, and if you're a veteran, you get points. If you are in the military, you get points. If you had somebody die, that was a police officer in the line of duty, you get to move to the top of the list. And then you get residency preference.
Okay, so Canton is a civil service
Yes.
town. Okay.
So this is what happens,
Mhm.
and I can tell you, this is something that I love about Canton that is very characteristic, and this is why I would want, if I had grown up here, I would have stayed here, right? And a lot of these officers do, because of the story that I just told you. It's a neighborly, every single officer that I talk to, somebody comes into the lobby and they're, hey, I know that person because I went to school with their brother. Or
I like this idea too. Get some food trucks out there. You have, maybe stickers for the kids, balloons. This stuff doesn't all cost that much. And you go out and you meet your community. How about doing things like this? What do they do? It trunk or treat. I've seen police communities do that too. Police departments do stuff like that. And the cops go out and they open their trunks and the cop cars, and they have, the kids, they do Halloween stuff. And we do, what do they do? Like the firefighter days and stuff like that. When you can go out and they bring the fire trucks out, do that with the police force and get out there and shake hands with people in the community and say, hey, we really appreciate you. And we look forward to getting these things turned around. Hey, I'm Officer Dan, I'm Chief Daniels, and this is some of the people in my department. They're new, try that. It's free to do that stuff. Build trust. Here we go.
So there's that tight closeness, right? But what happens from that is that when people want that, right? People want from their police department to feel, that their officers are taking care of them.
Not
right?
Mike, Ryan.
Yes, and you don't get that with an external person. The care is not always there to the same level. If you and I went to school together, right? And we came up through, and I'm a police officer, and you came to me and you asked me for help because you know Mike Daniels. I'm going to help you. I'm going to do whatever I can to help you, right? And the appearance of that sometimes can be, you wear the badge and you try to, do the best that you can, but then there's this perspective or the appearance that, oh, well, this person's getting special treatment because it's being a human. It's being a human being. You know someone, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. You want to establish. It's like
that's where the problems lie. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Because it is thought that the investigation into John O'Keefe's death would have been different had these alliances not known each other so closely.
So I'm going to throw this out there because that's not the reason.
Okay.
Right.
No.
I'm going to tell, and people can argue this till they're blue in the face.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
there. I see what they do. Right.
Yeah.
Could that be an element? Right. You don't want to think that somebody that has done something right, but you have an oath to uphold.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
But here's the key thing. If you're the leader of that department, you need to demand professionalism and efficiency in everything. It doesn't matter who it is. It does not matter. Right. So if I'm the boss and I show up to a situation, I make sure I remind these guys, listen, I don't care what the relationships are. You need to pull back and let, direct and take care of things. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say more at a public event, but there's organizational chaos within our PD, right? Is that a bad thing? Yes, it is. And you know why? Because, and I've already worked on it. This is part of bringing the deputy chief in. This is part of this.
Okay.
One of the major things that I've seen here is that the executive level command staff, and I've run into this problem early, when I need to gain access to a specific lieutenant, I have to wait a few days for that to happen. And there's things that I just don't want to communicate through email. I want to have a conversation and say, I need you to do this, and this is how you do it.
Why do you wait a few days? I'm not understanding that.
So what we have right now is typically in many organizations that are this size, and I'll use Westboro for an example, where I came from. I had a very defined role, very defined, and my duties and responsibilities were clearly outlined, and I did not deviate outside of that, right? The reason for that is because it holds one person accountable for those tasks, right? Here we have the upper level command staff. They all share the same responsibilities depending on who's
That could be true,
based
Gavin.
on
Yeah, good
the
point
schedule,
too.
I see.
right?
Yeah.
So what does that do, right?
It's not that hard to say the word. We just want the word, right? The one word. That's it. And there it is. That's all we want to hear is accountable. That's it. Just the one word. That's it. All right, here we go.
When a problem happens, it then creates, well, who's responsible for that? Well, I handled it.
We did
but
say
had
it.
to
I
hand
missed
off
it.
to this person and that person's.
Did I miss it? I was probably talking. Let's go back a little bit. I missed it, didn't I? I want to go back like 2 minutes. Here we go. All right, here we go. Did I missed it?
The executive level command staff, and I've run into this problem early, when I need to gain access to a specific lieutenant, I have to wait a few days for that to happen. And there's things that I just don't want to communicate through email. I want to have a conversation and say, I need you to do this, and this is how you do it.
Why do you wait a few days? I'm not understanding that.
So what we have right now is typically in many organizations that are this size, and I'll use Westboro for an example, where I came from. I had a very defined role, very defined, and my duties and responsibilities were clearly outlined, and I did not deviate outside of that, right? The reason for that is because it holds one person accountable for those tasks, right? Here,
we heard the one word. It only took an hour and 3 minutes and 40 seconds to get there, but we did hear it, but not in the capacity that I wanted to hear it.
we have the upper level command staff. They all share the same responsibilities depending on who's present based on the schedule.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So what does that do? Right? When a problem happens, it then creates, well, who's responsible for that? Well, I handled it, but I had to hand it off to this person, and that person's like, well, no, I thought it, and that's what happens, right? So, and this is the thing, in a paramilitary organization, you have to have clearly designated, defined, and very, very clear roles within the agency, right? You have to have that because we talked about the complexity of things, right? Yeah. And I, as the boss, I have to make sure that those things exist so that if something gets broken in the chain or something's not handled correctly, I can identify who the source is, what the problem is, and take care of that situation. That hasn't been happening.
Yeah, you can't change the past, but you can move forward and fix it.
The thing. I wanted to go back.
Oh, sure.
On something else that I think is important, because this is something else that I've gotten feedback on, but it was relative to the situation that I was talking about with regards to the officers in the back and perception, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I had a very, the second example that I wanted to offer.
Oh, for social media, yeah.
Yeah. The second example I wanted to offer was, and how it's been detrimental to us is that, we had that situation. That the perception was,
that they didn't approve of
you
being hired.
Yeah,
that was the perception out there.
Right.
And that was nothing. That was just timing.
Exactly.
The timing was off. No one knew the decision was going to be made.
Right.
And they thought that they would leave the meeting.
Right. But second to that, one day we're at the station. It was probably my second week. And this has to do with recruiting and hiring that I was talking about. This is what makes things difficult. We brought in 5 people that we were interviewing, and we went a little bit late. But as we're doing the interviews, I'm hearing a lot of commotion and things going on out front of the station. So, I try to ignore it, but it was a little bit distracting. We get through the final interview. So I go upstairs to my office and I look outside and I see every Friday from 12 to 2, there's a group of people. They're great people, by the way, that stand out front and they hold signs. But on this particular day, this is like, I'm going to explain this very thoroughly because this kind of helped influence kind of how I view things in talking to you.
Okay.
So I looked outside and I saw the group was getting ready to shut down and they were going across the street. So I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? Because this is how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I want to, introduce myself to these individuals. So I go out and one particular individual who used to work for us was in that group. And I think he organizes these. So I went over, I introduced myself to every one of them. I talked to them. And it wasn't very long. And that particular individual said very clearly, Chief, do you have a problem with what we're doing here?
Peter
and
Murphy.
I said, well, if you're exercising your First Amendment rights. That's what we're here to protect. I said, no, I don't have a problem with what you're doing here. And I did explain, I said, we're trying to hire people. Obviously, people coming in and driving in and seeing this, it doesn't help our cause, but you're that's your constitutional right. So no, and that's what I'm here to protect. Now, fast forward 2 weeks. And this is where social media becomes problematic. 2 weeks later, I'm at the station and I get a text from one of my relatives and they're like, hey, what are you doing? Are you trying to set Canton on fire? And I go, what are you talking about? So as I'm, going to text her back, I get several emails, and then one of the guys is like, hey, you might want to look at social media. So I go up to my office, I open one of my emails, and I see like I'm getting inundated with, you know, something that this person put out on social media saying, you know, Chief Daniel supports us, supports our cause. And in that social media post, he lists like anti this and anti that. And I'm like, first off, you know, this is an individual who's a former police officer that knows, as a police chief, you cannot align yourself with any group, any political affiliation, right?
Yeah.
Because that compromises your position. So this person took that narrative and he put it together and made it sound like it was something that I was supporting. So I went outside, I had a conversation with the individual, and I said, listen, you know, don't attach my name to social media in this manner, because it's not helping us.
Right.
I'm here to bring the community together to make the department move forward. And that's working adversely or contrary to what I'm trying to do here. So he obliged, and then, you know, we went on. But
I'm just going to pause here. It's kind of getting long answer, but I don't like the fact that, and I'm only going to assume he was talking about Peter Murphy. Saying it's a former officer that worked for us. Peter goes out there on Fridays. He stands, he protests. It's everybody's right. I think it's great. I don't like the fact that he said, you know, hey, look, you shouldn't align with anybody. You know, you shouldn't align. Listen, that is Peter's God-given right to whatever he wants to stand for, whoever he wants to align with. That's his God-given right. Maybe you're upset that he's not aligning with Canton. And that's what I'm sensing here. But that's Peter's right to freely think on his own and do what he wants. And if he's within his First Amendment protected right to go out and stand and protest and give his thoughts and ideas and his opinions of what happened in Canton and why things should be changed, he has every right to do that. But don't tell him that you can't align with a particular group of people, because that's shutting down his First Amendment right. That's just my opinion. All right, here we go.
I want to make a point, you know, that people need to really think critically about why people do things and the perception of it. They need to really think critically and ask yourself why. Why is a person doing that? What is their motivation?
Right.
Right. And that has to be clear. I went to graduate school, right? If I had to do a research paper, I couldn't just make something up and go, here's my research. What did the professor ask you to do? Verify your sources, verify them, right? So if you're doing research, you've got to properly cite what somebody else has said properly if you're going to attach it to anything that you're putting a work product out on.
Right. Things
Thanks for
can't
the $2,
just be
JP.
edited out of context.
And that's a big one for me. And I also want people to know, and I'll leave it at this. If I didn't say it directly, I didn't say it in this form, or I'm not quoted, then it's not true and it's inaccurate.
Okay.
And I'm not going to do anything that's going to further hurt this town. I've told you this.
Right.
Or hurt the PD. So that's my stance. But I think I needed to say that. That's why I backtracked, because that is very important. Very important.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. I thank you for clarifying that. And in our previous meeting before the cameras came on, you talked about the need for this community to have resource dogs. And I found that interesting. Do we have a police dog? And what's the difference between resource and police dogs? Changing the subject here.
No, it's okay. So in the past, I believe there was a patrol dog, and those canines are usually used for, apprehension, search, rescue, drug detection, and things like that. So my understanding of is, I don't know why it's no longer here, but a community resource dog, I think, is, I think it's something that I wouldn't say it's necessary, but I think it's something that would boost our relationship with the community.
Like a comfort type dog?
Well, they're the same.
Okay.
I don't want to say, so I don't want to use the term comfort dog because, comfort dog implies that, the dog is there to make you comfortable. It's a community my term is it's a community resource animal or community resource dog, right? Where we can use it in the future, community engagement events,
help connect everybody,
help connect people. One of the best examples, and I want to share this because this was pretty cool. In my previous agency, I was able to secure a community resource animal, and I'm just saying this because this is the potential of a program like this. We had an individual, a child who was at one of the schools over in Oxford who, had an illness, a grave illness. They were having an awful day that day, as you can imagine. So the staff had difficulty bringing that child into the school. They were having, a meltdown. They had a tantrum, and the canine handler, the comfort. You made me say comfort.
Sorry.
Oh my Lord.
we can change it.
Yeah. The community resource dog, his name is Cooper. The handler saw this because she was at the school watching, and we didn't have a school resource officer. So she took the dog out of the car and brought Cooper right over to the girl and said, "Hey, how would you like to walk the dog to your next class?"
Oh.
And the girl, the tantrum, the crying stopped immediately. She walked through those halls like a champion, right? So
it's awesome.
That to me is what's needed here, right?
Because the audit mentioned more school resource officers. I think that was our discussion. And you talked about a community resource dog.
Yeah. So that would be, that would be something that I would like to implement. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I do think that it's needed here. We have a clinician also, which is an awesome asset to have. We're very lucky.
So what is this clinician?
So our clinician's name is Emily. So she works in a co-response model with our officers. And basically we, in the past, and not just Canton, there's other departments that have adopted this kind of model with a clinician. It's basically an added resource to assist people with any, resources, or if we have a call that we're responding to where someone has, they're having issues with their mental health, right? She comes in and she provides them with resources. And she's got obviously a wide network of things that she could pull from that aren't available to police, right?
Do you receive a lot of calls, mental health calls? You do.
We do. It's actually, so I was a clinician liaison over in Westboro, and I could tell you.
What haven't you done, Chief?
Listen, I told you, they prepared me.
Fully experienced chief.
Well, I was lucky enough to have somebody that believed in me and put me in different things and exposed me to different things so that I could be better for, not Canton specifically, but be better as a leader.
Yes.
So where were we on that?
What the clinician does in mental health calls.
So comparatively, Westboro, similar size community, similar demographic. As far as population department size, Westboro shared their clinician with 2 other jurisdictions, right? Surrounding communities. What they get for calls to justify having a clinician position, they had to add 2 other communities.
Okay.
Here,
regional one then.
Yes. Here it's a resource specifically for Canton.
Oh, is she full-time?
She is full-time. What I'm going to be looking to do, well, here's the thing. She's grant funded.
Oh, okay.
Right. So there's budget cuts coming from Massachusetts. So her position may not be funded after July 1st. And that's concerning to me because that's
I need the community.
Yeah. So I'm going to propose to the community that we take that position on full-time.
Okay. All right. So gosh, we've discussed so much. I know I wanted to touch upon the idea of, traffic. Traffic's a big issue in Canton, and it was, I think, in the audit,
Big issue
mentioned
everywhere.
having a traffic sergeant or something along those lines.
Yeah.
What was your thought on?
So I've actually, so that was approved. I think it was last spring town meeting. Traffic is an issue. I'm not going to say it's not. It 100% is. But I think this is just me based on what I have planned for the future and for the vision.
Spike strips.
I think that should be an actual lieutenant role.
Okay.
For more oversight on the different shifts. So, and traffic enforcement would be a part of that. But I think, an executive level lieutenant that has divisional command over that and a number of other things would provide more accountability measures to ensure that those things are happening.
So your vision is to
We're the magic word twice now. It's 1:17:59, almost an hour and 18 minutes in. We heard the magic word again. But not in the capacity that we wanted to hear it.
restructure
Right.
a lot of what is already in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there definitely is definitely room for improvement. And, I also want to say that I have not received any pushback from the officers. In fact, they're looking for change. I think they're looking for, at this point, they want leadership and they want a way to move forward, not move past things, but move forward. How can we do that? How can we reconnect with the community? And, you heard what I said earlier about, some of the things that I've been hearing about the officers. They don't have that connection, right? And the town itself doesn't have that or feel that connection or that confidence in the police department. And I'm here to restore that. And there's always two sides to a story.
Yes.
Everyone knows that, and everyone has their own perspective on things. But I think, over time, things will get better. We'll build those connections back. We'll build the trust back. And that's all I'm here to do.
Great.
Like that he said that.
Would that be your message to Canton residents, or would you want to say anything else?
No, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I want to let people know too, I try to meet with as many people as I can. There are certain requests that I've had over time, for, face-to-face conversations and things like that. And, I want to, excuse me, I want to be, available and accessible. But also at the same time, I also want to make sure that
she did really well.
Process, in place, for that to happen. I've been to several events already, which have been fantastic. I got slimed over at the Luce Middle School with the superintendent. It was fun. I've already said that I'm coming back next year.
Great.
But that was fun. I was here for Black History over the presentation over at the Galvin Middle School. And I've been making my rounds as best as I can.
Great.
And this is the message that I'm going to deliver as a leader.
And you'll be back on Canton Community Television.
I hope so.
No, definitely. But and like I said, if it doesn't come directly from me, you haven't heard me say it, rest assured, I have no problems, talking to a person and them asking me what my thoughts are on something, and I will proudly deliver that. So, but I want to thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great discussion today, a lengthy one and we jumped around
Absolutely.
a bit. So I appreciate your honesty and your forthcomingness, and thank you for being on Canton Community Television today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So what'd you think? I thought it was a damn good interview. It's a good interview. Hour and 20 minutes? It's pretty good. here's my thought. I want Chief Daniels to succeed. I like him. I really do. I really do. And, I think sometimes in these situations where community is hurt, and we've seen everything over the last 4 years unfold in the town of Canton, I think people want actions fast. And I get it. And I have to agree with some of the comments in the chat tonight that said, hey, look, Rome wasn't built in one night. And of course, and things don't happen overnight. But we want to hear words more like accountability, holding people accountable, strong leaders, getting the right people in those positions, getting out and doing, community outreach, not only with the kids, but get out there and meet the adults of the community as well, too. Shake hands with them, let them be rest assured that community, Canton's going to be back on the straight and narrow, change the broken policies, fix the broken operations, get equipment that are up to date and up to standards, body cameras. Don't have the ability to have a body camera turn off. I don't know that if they can. I think he was talking about some legal requirements in that as well. I get it. Follow the laws, follow the regs, get people in there, and look at, maybe we got to give him a little bit of time, and maybe he will come back to Canton Community Television and give a year update or 6-month update. But look, those people in Canton are certainly hurting. I look at people like Dennis Sweeney and Brenda that live there on a daily basis. And, I can only go off what they say. And they're saying that there's not real change there quite yet. And hopefully there will be at some point, hopefully some point. Let's see. Alexander agrees with me 100%. Thank you, Simon. I appreciate that. She said, oh my God, we are saying the same things at the same time. Of course I want him to succeed. I don't want that community to keep staying broken. But like, PJ was saying earlier, that the moves that he makes in Canton is going to be his legacy. And I think he's just too proud of a guy or at least I hope he's just too proud of a guy to let something like that, his tenure, his resume, go to dog shit, if you want to just basically say it. Yeah, I mean, let's give it time. I think we've changed a few of the minds here. I was hard, it was a lot harder when I came into the interview and I sat back and listened to him. And I think sometimes we get emotionally involved right away, and change hearts and minds. Let's do it. Let's get Canton up to speed and get Canton back to being the community it once was, or what it could be. I don't want to say what it once was. We want change in that, but what it could be. Anyway, I want to let you guys know about my website, ltlmedianews.com. I have full bunch of stories over here, a bunch of cases that I'm following. Obviously, the Karen Reed stuff is always, a center point of any conversation. There's a case that I'm following out of Rhode Island, the Chiron Lopes case. And of course, I've been doing tons of reporting on the Enrique Delgado Garcia case. And I'm so proud and happy where that case is right now. And I just want that. I want true justice for that family. And, we'll keep rocking and rolling on that case. Also, I want to do this too. If you go to the live show tabs, I've been kind of setting this up, giving you a little bit of a preview, and I want to start doing this more on a regular basis and dropping in, a little preview of what the show is. You can go down and rewatch it. And I'm going to make the promise that, if I can and keep up on this, that I will put my live shows up on my website, so the dates that I'm going to go. And the cool thing about it is that I click on this, it's going to probably be live right now. So the dates that I'm going to go. And the cool thing about it is that I click on this, it's going to be cool. It's live right now. So you can even go to my website and watch live if you don't want to watch here on YouTube. So, I've been messing around with the website. I'm getting my Google AdSense set up on the website now. So we'll have ads flowing on there. I'm going to probably do a members only section on there for people that want members only content. So, get some monetization on there. And it's slick. It's a great website. It's been taking me a long time to get this all kind of transitioned over from my previous website. I just didn't like the forum I was using. Has all my social medias up here. You can connect in the little link button here. If you want to donate to my work, you can do that. And then obviously you have a contact page as well too. My email address there you can contact. So very basic right now, but continuing to work on it, get that out there. And I love what I've been able to do so far on the site. So Okay, listen, let's do this real quick. Let's do some appreciations. Rose started off the show with a $50 super chat. I appreciate that. Sophie, thanks you so much for the $2. We gifted 5 memberships tonight. JP was a big donator as well, several times throughout the show. Gigi, thank you so much. JP again. Karen, dropping a $10 super chat. I appreciate that. JP again with a 5. Pretty Eyes, my Canadian friend up there, and lots of Canadians watch the channel, and my Aussies as well too. With a $7 Canadian, we had Angela come in with a $20 super chat. Appreciate that. And JP finishing off with a $2 super chat. And I appreciate it. I have a members only stream coming up, hopefully this week. I'll keep you guys informed. Content's going to shift a little bit in the upcoming week. We're going to go back to Enrique Delgado Garcia because there's a hearing on Wednesday. I'm sorry, I keep saying Wednesday. Let me get the date correct on that. I believe it's Thursday. Hang on. Casey Lamont is going to face... no, so it is Wednesday, May 6th. May 6th in Worcester Superior Court at 11:30 a.m. Casey Lamont, the final trooper to be charged in the Enrique Delgado Garcia case, will stand in front of the court and get his formal charges. I will be there, and I'll get video for all of you guys, and we'll talk about it. Afterwards, we'll do a recap that night. So we are going to shift focus this week on Enrique starting Monday. So, get informed. You can go on ltlmedianews.com, get caught up on all of the things in Enrique's case right now. I was just out at Jennifer Penton's perjury hearing, and it's great. You can click on these articles, you go down, you see all the, the pictures that I'm capturing, all the video there to keep you up to speed. And, of course, we have the charging document, but loving the layout on the site. We're going to get the Google AdSense up there. And listen, I appreciate all you guys. Are great. You guys are really great. Nan secretly watching in the background. Look at this, Nan Gallagher. Last night, we had a great show. We went over trial testimony, witness statements, Jennifer McCabe, Kerry Roberts, and also we went over Katie McLaughlin as well, too. Go over and check out that show, and then check out, if you weren't live, the Michael Easter, the Easter Report, Easter. Check out that show as well. Lots of great shows up on the homepage. Let me just pull up my homepage real quick. And I'll show you where. And I have all the body cam footage for the Karen Reed case as well. You can check that out on the channel. So you can go over right on my homepage here. Let me pull that up real quick. Homepage here. You can click in. All my live shows are here. Enrique Delgado Garcia case. Obviously, the Karen Reed case is central focus. I did a lot of stuff on the Epstein files. We're going to be bringing back some live streams about that as well. And then all the popular videos, and then all my members only videos are on the bottom. And if you click into my playlist here, that'll give you all the playlist of all the certain cases and things that I followed or I follow on my channel. Okay. Andrea, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that. She said, I've been a member for 7 months. Thank you for your continued support. And Pats, thank you. Keep on keeping LTL. Thank you. And I appreciate it. Jody, thanks for being here. Nice to see a lot of people coming back to LTL. Look, we just do content. That's all we do here. We just want to keep doing content, doing the FOIAs, getting the stories out there for all of you to be up to speed in all the things Massachusetts and beyond. I know a lot of my content is Massachusetts focused, but we do national and world content as well too. And look, it's been great. The website's been a big help too. It's nice that I have the ability now to write, and I'm probably going to do a write-up on this show. I just need to absorb it, go back, think about it, and we'll do a grading system for Chief Daniels at the end of the article. So, okay, everybody, I love all of you. Thank you so much. I see the hearts flowing in the chat. Thank you. I appreciate everybody here. Support channels like the Young Jerks. Mike does a great job over there. Obviously, JFK Show Off, another great channel. They're the late night guys, but please go over and support Mike. He's got a great channel. He's been supporting a lot of me and sharing a lot of my streams lately, and I appreciate that, Mike. And I want to do a show with him soon. Mike, if you're watching, we got to do a show soon. I've been kind of calling for this for a while, but let's do it. Let's get a show together. I don't care, whatever channel you can host it. I'll come hang out on your channel. Let's talk about some cases. I think it'll be a good time. All right. I am out of here. And guess what? One last thing before I go.
Why do you want to be here? Why do you love space? Why do you love being a part of history?
We're going back to the freaking moon, that's why.
I love that. All right, I'm out of here, everybody. I'll see you soon. Have a good night. Take care. Peace.